All right, good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. Good to see everyone bright and early in the morning. I'm Paul Mayfield. I work on the System Center Configuration Manager Intune Desktop Analytics Autopilot team.
And I'm Ramya. I'm an engineer on the Intune and Autopilot team, and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So Ramya and I have both worked at Microsoft for several years, and we didn't really know each other. We both have worked in the engineering and the product teams. I started as a developer and am now in program manager. She has started in engineering and has been there the whole time. But we first met each other actually about 3 or 4 years ago at a charity auction. And every October, Microsoft holds what we call a giving campaign, and we donate items and bid on them. And Ramya had bid a day with her car into the auction. And I thought that was pretty cool because if I were to pull down this presentation for just a second, I can show you. This is Ramya's laptop. Okay, and I've got to pull down lots. There we go. There's Ramya's car. Yeah. So a fine European automobile. I entered the auction. I won the auction, so I got a day with that car. And I went to Ramya, and I was teasing her. And I told her I was so excited to take this car into the mountains and drive it off-road. And she has still not let me drive the car. So.
You know, he gave me a heart attack when he said that. I was thinking he was actually serious about that, you know. So, and I didn't know him then, so I didn't realize it was humor behind it. But I was very nervous about that.
Yeah. So if you see Ramya walking around the conference, remind her to let me drive her car at some point. But when we started in Intune, when we started launching the Intune product really around 2013, that was the year that Prince George of Cambridge was born. And if there are Game of Thrones fans in the audience, that was the year the Red Wedding aired on TV. So it was a while ago. But at the time when we were out talking with customers about the Enterprise Mobility Suite, which was a new offering that was part of delivering Office onto iOS and Android as well, we had a lot of resistance because customers were not ready to embrace the cloud, to move their data into the cloud. And the state of the art was really a VPN gateway that would give access to corporate information that was generally held on premise. And so if you think about the changes that have happened in those years, now every customer we talk to, even governments and financial institutions, are embracing the cloud. Their data lives in mobile applications, in SaaS applications, on mobile devices, and the world really has changed from having sort of a perimeter to having the cloud. When we started, there was no GDPR. Now that is a primary concern when we're building our cloud services. How do we make it compliant? And I know that from speaking with many of you and many customers that the workloads are just getting increasing with the same number of people and the same IT budgets, and so people need things more automated, more brought together. And so from a perspective of management technology then, if you think back again to maybe the early 2000s, when baby boomers were the generation in the workforce, there were two things that your management solution would do for you. It would, first of all, enable productivity. So for baby boomers, that meant locking down a Windows desktop to have just the icons and just the apps needed to do work. And then protecting data, making sure there was antivirus software, keeping everything up to date and so forth. Now, when we live in an age when there are mobile apps, SaaS apps, you have Windows, iOS, macOS, Android, browser, web apps, that you still have the same basic two needs. Now you need to enable productivity for your millennial workforce. They understand how to use technology. What they want is a self-service experience to be able to access IT services. And you still need to protect data, but it's no longer sufficient just to protect data by locking down a device. You need advanced threat protection, you need cloud, artificial intelligence, and machine learning working for you to automate the protection, and you need to control access to your data. So the same basic needs exist, it's just transformed over the course of these years. To deliver this from Microsoft, we have a suite of products which are Microsoft 365. The management products are specifically Config Manager and Intune. And we've designed these two systems to work together and to meet that evolving need. So if you're using Microsoft 365, if you're using Config Manager, if you're using Intune, and the other products that come with that, you're going to, first of all, have the best experience for your end user, for your employees, and we'll be demoing some of that today. You'll also have a very complete solution that will address your needs. You'll have the most security. We'll be demonstrating that as well. And you'll get your value fastest. We'll keep you up to date the entire time. So let me talk a little bit about how Intune and SCCM work together, because one misconception that we've heard from many of you is an idea that Microsoft is not investing anymore in Configuration Manager. Configuration Manager is the most popular device management system on the planet, has hundreds of millions of devices enrolled in it. And we were not, as Microsoft, walking away from this investment. We have continued to invest in Configuration Manager. We have the teams building Configuration Manager and Intune together, and we plan the feature sets for both Configuration Manager and Intune to work together. So if you have Configuration Manager today, you know the capabilities it has. It manages Windows. It will do traditional OS deployment, Win32 app management, configuration management, all the things you see listed here. What we have been working to do in the Config Manager and Intune team is to enable a whole set of functionality that's possible if you have Intune and Config Manager together. So if you have your Config Manager deployment, you attach it to the Microsoft 365 cloud. That's through a process we call co-management. That attachment doesn't change anything. If you enable co-management, meaning all of your PCs are both enrolled in SCCM and enrolled in Intune, you can continue to operate the way you are today, but you can get access to these new capabilities. And the new capabilities, which we'll demo many of these today, include unified endpoint management, the ability to manage your iOS, macOS, Android devices in addition to Windows. You get risk-based access control. If your users are not coming from a trusted PC that is compliant with your policy, you can automatically remove their access to email and SharePoint and other services. Get advanced threat and security. We're going to show you integrations we have done between Windows Defender ATP and Intune and SCCM together. You'll get telemetry-driven policy. We will make recommendations for how to configure your environment to be more secure, and we'll be publishing this to you in a dynamic way so that as we discover new recommendations, they show up in your console ready to assign to your users. We have a complete set of app management capabilities, including a set of investments we're making into delivery optimization, WAN optimization, and bandwidth. But if you want to enable Office Pro Plus, which is really the Office version of being attached to the cloud, and we'll show you how Office is enabling machine learning and artificial intelligence to inform the experience your employees have using Office. You'll get the best experience for managing that by attaching to the cloud. And then finally, integration across the full Microsoft stack. If you want to have a consistent way of administering things together and having RBAC and having audit trails, and having everything from mobile identity to productivity to access control to management, all designed to work together, that's the solution that we're building. And so with that, let's walk in and do, I forgot to mention another part. If you are not a Configuration Manager customer, or if you're using Config Manager today and you want to shift to a full cloud infrastructure and not operate your on-premise infrastructure anymore, then we also provide a full set of functionality and capabilities for doing that. So Intune has the ability to provide all by itself all the settings you need from group policy, the Win32 app management. You get a full experience for managing Windows from the cloud as well. So our message to customers is not you should replace SCCM and put Intune in place. It's if you're using SCCM, you add Intune to it by attaching to the cloud and get new scenarios. If you aren't using Config Manager or you want to shift to a cloud infrastructure, then we'll provide a full set of functionality for that as well. And with that then, Ramya is going to walk through a set of experiences that we're building through this infrastructure.
All right. To first talk about what the modern desktop experience is like, I want to talk about my own experience as a Microsoft 365 end user at Microsoft. Right? First off, this laptop that I'm projecting from, I set that up last week. I set that up using Autopilot because I wanted to get a true sense of what it takes for me to finish the setup and start being productive. And also partially because I want to check on my teams if they're doing their jobs and making sure Autopilot has great quality. So this is what my experience looked like. Guess what? 20 minutes or less. 18 to be precise is what it took. I pulled my machine out of the box, I turned power on, and then started my stopwatch and measured the time it took for me to get to my desktop. And this includes, by the way, everything that I needed, including things like settings, Wi-Fi profiles to connect to Microsoft Network, and the applications that I needed to be productive, including Office Pro Plus. It was a delightful experience. And to give you a sense of what that looks like, let me show a video that I recorded of Autopilot. So this shows the boot up of a brand new device, and you will notice that it figures out that it belonged to Contoso through Autopilot. And the next step is to enroll the device into Intune. It brings down the policies and applications, certificates, etc., that the admin deployed to this device, and goes ahead and set it up. You notice there were very few screens or clicks through this video, and that is because this is meant to be a self-deploy mode of Autopilot, which is to provision kiosk devices. So there is no end user in the picture, and an admin can pick and choose what pages in the out-of-box experience should show. You notice in a matter of few seconds, that's about it. You reach the desktop, the browser is pinned right there. As it is a kiosk device, perhaps it's meant for a store, and it has a default homepage on there, which is the Microsoft Store. So I hope that gives you a sense of the ease of use and simplicity built into provisioning. Now, while I want to shift gears from what provisioning looks like to a little bit about what my day-to-day experience is like as an M365 user. To do that, just to give you a sense, and I'm not sure how many of you have experienced it, I surely have. In the past, it used to take several minutes to warm up a device at the beginning of each day. Whether it was my dev machine, connected to the corporate network, or my laptop, it would take several minutes because we had these heavy startup scripts, and it was necessary for security of the organization. Now it's a matter of few seconds. I pull my device out of my purse, I turn on the power, and within 15 or 20 seconds max, I'm ready to go, start being productive. Now, as in the world of device management, and Paul talked about this, where we are making investments in the cloud, we are innovating in the cloud, Office is doing very much the same with Office Pro Plus, and not the MSI version. Now, to show you a little bit of what that looks like, I'm going to switch gears and do a demo. And to set some context, I'm a developer. You ask me to write an application, build a service for you, that's easy. But you ask me to build a beautiful, professional-looking PowerPoint, that is not my forte. I'm a developer, not a designer. But ironically, my job requires me to do a lot of presentations, and I spend a lot of time in PowerPoint. So I want to show you how this changed my life. So what I have here, I show you so you can see it too.
You double-click the title bar there.
Okay. Oh. I'm just going to duplicate. All right. What you see is the deck that I have. It's pretty black and white, literally black and white, because it has all the content that I need. So it has the core in there. However, it looks pretty plain, and I do want my PowerPoint to look a little bit more pretty to present, right? And so you notice, and please notice this in the browser. I'm using PowerPoint online, not even the version on my desktop. And there's this little icon on the side called Ideas. Right? And you click on that, and you notice, it's asking me to see some style ideas, some pictures. Yeah, I like pictures. So it picked up the word Northwind Energy. It figured out through AI powered from the cloud that I'm probably working on a wind energy project. So it provided relevant pictures for me to use. Let me go and select a few. Good ones. And you notice the minute I do that, it automatically even selects design ideas for me. It picked the colors, it picked templates for me, themes, and even crops the picture so I don't have to do anything and I can just pick an idea that it presented to me. all within a matter of seconds. You notice I didn't have to click on anything. Next one is project scope. Here, you notice the first word of every sentence is a verb, which means it's an action. AI-powered PowerPoint recognized it as a series of steps to make it easy to read. You notice this sample that it gave me in an idea. And you see how much easier it is to get that idea across that I'm talking about certain actions. One more such example is around goals. And like my very poor design skills, I also am pretty bad with images and icons. Iconography is one of the coolest features I feel that PowerPoint has added, and I'll show you an example of that. Pick this one. Not only did it find icons for me, it also understands the meaning. It retained the context. Like if you look at the one that says connect with your customers, it found a relevant icon, so it was not something random that it picked up. And lastly, as you may have figured about me by now, I'm all about deadlines and dates and getting things done. So I spend a lot of time building milestones, right? What are the goals for my team and till when do we have to complete it? PowerPoint recognizes that these are indeed dates and times and organizes them chronologically for me. So let's go down and see some of these ideas. You see, the milestones are much better represented on a timesheet, making it so easy to consume. So that's a little taste of what PowerPoint looks like, and I'll implore you to go try out more, because I'm very excited about that. I'll switch gears and show one little bit about Word. Let's say that I'm working on a Word document, and I'm preparing a resume, okay? And I use the regular templates, which is a feature in Word, which perhaps a lot of you have used. But the new thing that Office 365 provides to you is a thing called Resume Assistant, and you notice I didn't click anything. It automatically popped up because it recognized that I'm using a resume template. And here, through built-in integration with LinkedIn, it figured out that my role is a software engineer and I work in a certain field, and it provided me some great examples of work experience. So if you're starting off with a resume, it gives me a great starting point to use some samples of popular work experience examples. It gives some top skills to add in my resume for a software engineer. It even gives me articles to learn how to write a good resume. And not to stop there, it recognizes that I'm based in the United States and provides the job options that are available for me. And let's say I use all these great ideas, update my resume. I can even get started on LinkedIn from within Word. I was previously logged on to LinkedIn, so it recognizes I'm logged on. I can just hit next, because my next step, of course, after a resume is so that recruiters know that I'm looking for positions. So I'm quickly going to turn that off because I am happy where I am at Microsoft and I don't want to change my job. But I hope you get an idea of what the power of the cloud is and Office Pro Plus. With that, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Yeah. So you might wonder, why are we showing a set of Office experiences in a session about management? Well, the reason to connect your SCCM infrastructure to the cloud or to adopt Intune in the Microsoft 365 stack is so that your employees get great experiences like this. This is really our efforts at the company across the entire suite to bring the cloud, to bring immediate value, to bring new scenarios to your employees. So we've spoken a little bit about what the experiences are going to be for end users. Let's shift gears now and talk about what we're doing for IT pros and the experiences we're providing there. We did a survey of the consoles that were available for the many technologies that are offered as part of Microsoft 365. I think we discovered there were 37, if I recall. And we decided that wasn't as simple as it could be. And so we have put together an effort we call the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. The idea behind Office 365 Admin Center is you have a single URL you can go to, admin.microsoft.com, and from there, get access to a set of experiences that are categorized by typical personas we see when we're working with our large customers. So the persona may be the IT professional that is working on file collaboration or SharePoint, or maybe the admin that works on SecOps and SecAdmin, or maybe device management. So we in the management team are building the Device Management Admin Center. This is available at devicemanagement.microsoft.com. It's one of the 7, and we won't have more than 7, specialist experiences that you can click into from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And everything that we are going to surface from the cloud, from Config Manager, Intune, Desktop Analytics, Autopilot, even Azure Active Directory, If it's an experience that would be something that a desktop administrator or a device administrator would need, we're going to surface it in the Device Management Center. So to give you an idea of what that looks like, here is a screen capture of logging into admin.microsoft.com. If you look over on the left side of the screen toward the bottom, you'll see the admin centers. These are the specialist areas you can click into. So one for security, one for compliance, one for device management. If you were to click on the device management one, you'd see a screen like this that brings together status that's relevant for device management. So if you look at the tile in the bottom on the left, you'll see it showing Intune enrolled devices. It's actually, we're going to change that label to not necessarily say Intune enrolled devices, because if you were to click on Windows, you would actually see the SCCM devices as well that were co-managed or attached to the cloud. And we're building more and more experiences where we can surface SCCM data up into the cloud. So if you have help desk folks, and we'll be demonstrating some troubleshooting experiences that need to see all the devices enrolled in Intune, all the devices managed by SCCM, they can go to this cloud console, devicemanagement.microsoft.com, and we'll surface the log files and diagnostics and status and inventory of those devices. And so directionally, where we're going is everything that we bring together into the cloud will surface in this console. And now, let's show you another couple of experiences. If you remember, we had a security center and we had a device management center. There are scenarios that bridge those things together. And we are building automation that goes from an incident happening in SecOps to remediation happening in device management. And Ramya is going to demonstrate that for us.
So to bridge the gap between these two personas, right, and as Paul described, there's the security operations persona or the SecOps, whose job it is to detect live threats in the system. And then there is a security admin whose job it is to prevent these attacks from the first place. So how we are bridging the gap between these two is integrating these products together across Intune, Azure Active Directory, and ATP to allow the risk score of a device to drive conditional access. And what I mean by that is admins are able to select a rule that constantly scans the state of a device to assess the risk level of that device and prohibit access to corporate resources in case of an attack. That way, you prevent the attack from spreading across your network. We are taking that a step further. What we're doing is deeper integration between these products and now enabling you to look at emerging threats that have not yet attacked but could attack your network and allows you to take proactive measures to prevent them. So I'm going to show you a few demonstrations to give you an idea of what that looks like. To do that, Paul mentioned earlier about the security specialist experience, and this is what it's going to look like, right? And you see there is the threat and vulnerability management dashboard that gives you a bunch of scores. To give you an example, the exposure score there is based on the level of exposure across all your machines in your organization. Now, it also gives you these security recommendations, the top security recommendations, so you can be proactive about it. So let's look at the first one, right? This says update 7-zip to a specific version. 7-zip is an application that you have deployed. And what it is saying is, hey, this application has 2 known vulnerabilities. You might want to update the version of this. Now, in the past, remember those 2 personas I was talking about that exist in organizations? It would be the SecOps person who creates a ticket and throws it across the wall to the security admin. Now, the security admin may be working on it, but the ops had no idea about the progress of that task that was sent over. We are bridging the gap between these two by allowing the SecOps admin to immediately request remediation from within the ATP console. As you can see, you're able to open a ticket with Intune. So I'll go ahead and click that. You can specify a due date for this task. Let's say you pick a date. And then you can even add some comments so you can set the right context for the security admin that you're requesting a remediation from. Now, I'm going to shift gears and show you what that looks like on the security admin, from a security admin standpoint. We're introducing this concept called security tasks, which is nothing but the task that was opened by the SecOps admin that I demonstrated a moment ago. I'll click it so you can see what it looks like on this end. This provides all the details and the context that the SecOps role was able to give. This includes the steps for remediation and what needs to happen, the number of impacted devices. And the next step is for the admin to go and hit accept, saying, I'm going to start working on this. And when they finish the update, they can mark it complete. In the meanwhile, it is not a black box for the SecOps role. They're able to monitor the progress of this activity, which is going to refresh in a second to say, hey, it is in progress. So now you see how we're bridging the gap between these two to make it simple and very tight integration across these products in Microsoft. Now, another concept that I want to show in the specialist experience is what we call a secure score. As you notice, as soon as it refreshes, there's a secure score on the left side of the screen, and this is our way to, and there's a desire, of course, you want to be as secure as you can, and you can see in my case, I have some way to go, right? I am 723 out of 1707, and what we offer, though, is improvement opportunities. How do you get to increase the security posture of your organization? One such case is to actually use the ATP baselines. And to give you a sense of what this baseline is, I'm going to go ahead and create one. It is a rich set of settings and recommended values, which are Microsoft's security best practices, all combined in one place for you, so you don't have to go about hunting for them and spending time to figure out what the right values are. So I'll create a profile, and I give it a name, etc. But the key point is to show you the settings and the way they are categorized. You see, they're organized into categories for you. I'm going to go select Windows Defender because this is an ATP baseline. And you see the amount of settings that we have, and we even give you recommended values for all of them. You can change them, of course, but in most cases, you would create the profile, you would assign it as any other device configuration within Intune, and you can monitor progress in your organization. And as you'll see, your secure score starts to increase as this rolls out in your organization. Now, I hope that has given you a sense of both what the admin experience is like, how we are bridging the gap between these two personas of SecOps and SecAdmin. We're bringing these multiple products together in the Microsoft 365 suite. And at the end of the day, we are helping you increase the security posture of your organization. Right.
So I think that gives a pretty good sense of how we bring security management and device management together. I think it would be worthwhile walking through then, if we remember management is about enabling security and also enabling productivity, let's give you a sampling of the new administrative capabilities we're offering for productivity.
All right. So far I talked about the security experience. Now to talk about what the management experience is for productivity. Earlier, I mentioned my experience as an end user, right, at Microsoft, where I'm using the Office Pro Plus apps, I'm using PowerPoint, etc. What does it look like to deploy it or assign it in the organization by the IT Pro? So first, I'm going to show you how it looks like on the Intune side. I created an application called Office Pro Plus. But the cool part is we provided you knobs to make the assignment really simple. So to show you what that looks like, let's select the app suite, right? It shows all the applications in the Office 365 suite, and I can unselect. Let's say that I don't need Publisher, I don't need Skype for Business. I can make those changes. I can change app suite information such as the name of the app if you wish to. The cool one is the settings, where I can select the architecture. I can select the deployment cadence. I can say, do I want to update this monthly? Do I want to do this semi-annual cadence? I can even provide settings such as, hey, do I want to remove older versions of Office, such as the MSI, when I'm deploying Office Pro Plus? All in one place, making the deployment of Office Pro Plus extremely simple. Like any other application in Intune, you go ahead, create the application, save it, assign it to your groups, and monitor the installation progress through our in-console reporting. Now, on the note of apps, it's not just Office Pro Plus, we've talked about that a lot. One more kind of app that is extremely popular is the Win32 apps that we announced at Ignite back in the fall. And it is one of the set of apps that has had a huge uptake since we released it a couple months ago. Now, let me walk you through the app creation experience for Win32. So I select the type of app. In this case, I select Windows app or Win32 format. It asks me for a package file. What I provide there is what is called an Intune Win package. By the way, all it is a simple way for you to upload your MSIs to us. And how do you do that, right? We provide a tool to you. You input your MSI. It could be single file MSI, multi-file. We'll handle all of that for you. So you point us to your MSI. We package it We encrypt it so it is safe and secure, and we compress it, making it very easy for you to upload it to Intune. And how do we do that? So I'm going to go select, I pre-created some of the package files here. I'll upload my Notepad application. Once I hit OK, you'll notice that we extract all the metadata that we possibly can from the package that you provided to us. It extracted the name. You can provide my description if you like. I'm going to say this is my Notepad. Add your publisher, and you can provide other information if you like. Program is about the installation and uninstallation commands. You can change the default that we've extracted from your package or leave the one as it is. Requirements are about what minimal bar should the machine meet in order to be able to install this application. Examples are you provide the architecture, in this case I'll say 64-bit. You provide the minimum operating system version, I'll say Win 10 1803. There are others too that you can provide, such as what is the physical memory that is needed to run this application, etc. Next up is the detection rule. Detection rule is about how do we detect the presence of this application. You can do that via custom scripts if you like, or you can use detection rules. A popular one for MSI is typically the MSI product code, and we extract that for you, and in this case, I'm just going to use that. Lastly, we also pull out the return codes for you from the package you provide, and you can choose to add and remove them if you like. After this point, as usual, you go ahead and assign it to your groups, and you can monitor progress on installation. Now, so far, I showed you a couple scenarios around deployment of various objects, right? Now, I'm going to walk you through what a troubleshooting experience looks like. What if something, you get a call from an end user? So let's look at a help desk scenario for troubleshooting. To do that, I'm going to the troubleshoot section of the device management center. I select a user. Let's say it was Jane that called. So I select Jane as the user. And you notice how in one page, we collect all the information relevant to Jane. All the applications that are assigned to Jane, the devices that Jane has enrolled. We even show you some settings which are in error state, and we give you a reason for the error state, so you're able to troubleshoot it. For instance, we show you enrollment failures. Jane tried to enroll an iOS device, it looks like. If I click on it, it tells me what happened. It says, hey, a certificate is needed, a push certificate, and looks like you have it misconfigured. So that easily I'm able to figure out what the issue was if Jane were to call about her failing iOS device. One feature that I'd like to show you, I'm going to click on Jane's Windows device in this case, is what we added recently is, let's say Jane got logged out of her machine, and she's calling because she wants her BitLocker keys. Within the device management center now, we provide you access to her BitLocker keys, making your scenario extremely integrated and simple, so you're now able to provide that right on the phone and saving you a bunch of time trying to find it from elsewhere. So I hope that that's something that you would appreciate. It's a feature that's in preview at the moment. All right. One last experience that I'd like to show is about data, right? So we saw the troubleshooting experience, we saw what the assignment experience looks like in applications, and the last thing that I want to show you is what data we are providing to you. So to get that started, this data is really your data about your tenant and actions that happen in your tenant. And it's in your site. How do we do that, right? We call it diagnostics. As you enable it, you can say, hey, I'm going to call it my Contoso log data. And what this is the audit logs or operational logs, such as your enrollment failures or your enrollment reports, your compliance logs that are sent to your storage account. So you have multiple ways that you can get access to this data. You can do it by archiving it to a storage account that you provide for long-term retention. And you can choose the amount of retention you want for both kind of logs. You can stream the events to an event hub and even integrate with third-party SIEM systems such as Splunk, for instance. Or what I'm going to show you today is integrating your log data with Azure Log Analytics. Now, you do that so that you can run queries, you can create some cool visualizations of operations that happen in your account. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. I have my test account, which is hooked on to my storage account. So I have some screenshots to show you some of the queries that I ran and some visualizations that I created. So that query is really hard to read, so I'm going to walk you through what that was. The query is about, you use a SQL-like language, right, to write a query. What that is saying is, I have a table called Intune audit logs. I'm looking for an operation which contains managed device in its name. I aggregate by that column, and then I render it in the form of a pie chart. You can choose to use a bar chart or whatever other visualization based on your scenario. And what that chart is showing, it's hard to read, so I'm going to expand it out for you. It says there's a certain percentage of, these are all the remote actions, by the way, that took place on your tenant, on your devices. And you can say there's a certain percentage of wipes that happened, retire that happened, sync. And so I hope you get the idea. There's a lot more you can do, but this is so that we can get started. And one last thing about log analytics is the ability to create alerts. You can set up alerts to be notified when certain actions happen in your environment. In my case, for instance, I care a lot about compliance policies. I need to know if somebody deletes a compliance policy. So I create an alert with a rule that says when a delete happens, you get an email like this in your inbox, which provides all the details of that event, such as the time when it happened. So I hope this gives you some experience of what the management of a modern desktop looks like. And with that, I'll hand it back to Paul. Thank you,
Great.
Paul.
Yeah, so that was a lot of demo content. Just to recap, we started from showing you how we've integrated security and management workflows together across the Security Center and the Device Management Center. We showed you how to enable productivity with things like Office Pro Plus management, Win32 app management. Then we moved over to operational side of things, some of our troubleshooting experiences that are new, including BitLocker management and key recovery. And then we showed you how to take the data outside of the tools we provide, such as the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and integrate them with Azure services like log analytics to be able to very flexibly use your data to enable all sorts of scenarios in the environment. So hopefully this gives you a feel for how the Microsoft stack and the Microsoft Cloud services are built to integrate together. They natively support these contracts with each other to enable the scenarios we've shown you. Now, so far, we've focused a lot on Windows management. I want to flip over and talk about mobility now a little bit and talk about what we're doing starting with iOS. So when it comes to iOS, there are really 3 modes that we support for doing management. And these 3 modes might get used either in personal BYOD scenarios or in corporate-owned scenarios. The first one is the simplest. We call this iOS App Managed. So this is the ability to take our first-party Microsoft apps and third-party apps that have integrated with our SDK and manage the app and the data without enrolling the device at all. So we've seen this as a very popular BYOD option. We've even seen this used in some companies as the standard for management. The value proposition is that when your employees are using their Office 365 services, say with Teams or Outlook or mobile PowerPoint, we are able to prevent the corporate data that was accessed with a corporate credential from being saved to a consumer app or a service. So we prevent your corporate data from being saved to consumer Dropbox, for example. Then if you want more control, if you want to be able to set the PIN policies for a device, configure the Wi-Fi profiles for a device, and et cetera, we enable the ability for an end user to enroll their device into MDM. This is the middle column under iOS Device Managed. And then if you have a lockdown device, a single-purpose device, a kiosk device that's shared across multiple users, you can also use our technologies through the Apple DEP Enrollment program, automatically enroll a device and lock it down to just a single set of apps and to prevent the device from ever being unmanaged. So these sorts of things are very popular in retail, also in education, because students are notorious for trying to work around the controls that the school has put in place. Do want to mention one thing, one of these features that is, I think, worthy of calling out. We've worked with some financial institutions to enable this, and it's a pretty great experience. One of the common things we were hearing from customers who wanted to use the device enrollment program to onboard their iOS devices was that the process of enrolling the device was unable to support modern authentication, multi-factor authentication. And so there was a concern that if a credential had been compromised, it could be used to enroll a device into a service, and that could be used as an attack vector. So what we have done is built an experience where you can, and we've automated the configuration of this pretty well. you can cause an iOS device to come through DEP, be put into a single app kiosk mode, have the company portal be the single app that gets enrolled, and then in order to sign into the company portal, you'll be challenged for modern authentication, including multi-factor authentication. When that is satisfied, then we unlock the device from kiosk mode and give the full access to the iOS device. And so we've gotten a lot of great feedback from customers, especially that have high security concerns, that this is a fantastic way that really doesn't exist in other products for using the DEP enrollment program to get devices into the corporation in a secure way. Also worth calling out on iOS is that we've done a complete facelift of the company portal app. This is the Intune app used to access the company apps and company services. If you actually look on the App Store reviews, our company portal is pretty highly rated. And it's hard for any management platform to be highly rated because lots of times end users don't like having devices that are managed anyway. But this experience here is very delightful now. It includes things like search history, but most importantly, we used to send you to a web view in order to access all the apps to be downloaded. We can now have native apps right inside the company portal experience, a great consumer-like App Store experience for accessing everything. So we're really proud of the work that our team has done to really focus on the end user productivity and the experience that we provide. So here is a sample of apps or new features that we've put into iOS. Of course, we are adding more and more payloads and settings all the time as Apple is releasing those. We have new experiences for setting the install status as apps are being downloaded. Custom wallpaper support has been a popular ask. We've worked with several customers who are not only branding their devices with wallpaper, but also putting compliance and legal notices in the wallpaper as a way to meet their own compliance standards. Multi-token enrollment for DEP, the ability to have multiple procurement managers who are purchasing Apple devices, business manager integration, the ability to delay iOS updates. So if you have a concern about a latest payload coming from Apple, either because of an app compat concern or another concern, you can delay that now through the system. And you can provision email accounts to Outlook Mobile, which is pretty huge. We'll talk about Edge here in just a second. Let me switch gears and talk about Android Enterprise then. Prior to Android Lollipop, the only way really to manage an Android device was to put an agent on it, like the Intune company portal, and use what was called the Android device admin capability. You would give special rights to that app, which would then be able to configure the device, test its compliance, and so forth. Starting with Lollipop, then Google started introducing a new set of infrastructure, which was their goal to try and simplify and make management more secure for Android. That's the so-called Android Enterprise feature set, which we have supported in the product since it was released from Google. But the important thing to kind of know is that starting with Android Q, Google has announced that they are removing the device admin capability in future versions of Android. And device admin is currently the primary way, even in the industry, that Android devices are being managed. So there's a transition that's going to happen from people who were using sort of agent-based management of Android to taking advantage of the new Android Enterprise capabilities. So if you are currently using agents to manage Android and you're working with us, we are with you and we are committed and we're going to help you make that transition from where you are today to those new scenarios. We'll also continue to support device administration so long as there are devices that use it and require it in the market as well. So you'll be covered both from having all the capabilities that you currently exist supported to having migration to the new system that's coming with Android Q. So let's talk a little bit about the modes of operation for Android Enterprise. The first and most basic and easy one, again, is the Intune app managed. You can have an Android device that isn't enrolled in MDM at all, that has the Microsoft first-party apps or the third-party apps integrated with our technology, where you can say, when the corporate credential is used to access the data, that is corporate data, and it can't be shared with consumer devices. We have a lot of customers using this today. There's then another technology, the Android Work Profile. This is where you can use your Intune or your MDM tool to deploy a container onto an operating system for the work experience, which is separate from the personal experience on the device. Your end users can actually download, for example, mobile Word into the work container, or you can push it to them. They can also download it into the personal container. In the case that they're using one of our apps in the work profile container, we can actually provide, and we'll demo this for you, the ability for you to only allow that app to be used for work, and then use the app protection policies in the personal container to prevent the leakage of the data there as well. So this will help really give you a streamlined experience for using work profiles across our apps. Now, in addition to doing those sort of BYOD scenarios, there is the corporate-owned scenarios where a device is put into the so-called corporate-owned single-use mode. This is Android Enterprise Dedicated. This is where a device will come up, get enrolled into your management system, and be locked down to a specific set of apps. And then what is in preview right now is what we call the Android Enterprise Fully Managed scenario, where a device gets enrolled into Intune. It is used by an information worker with the full set of apps that are available, but there is no separate work profile from a personal profile. The device is completely managed by the system. So we feel that across this set of technologies, we have pretty comprehensive coverage for the scenarios that you need in order to embrace Android in your environment and use the Microsoft 365 services. And because we have support for the legacy technology based on device admin and this new technology based on Android Enterprise, will help you migrate your state from the old system to the new. With that, let's do a demo of Android Enterprise.
To start off with, I want to show you two of the 4 options that Paul just spoke about. I'll start with the corporate device case. This is corporate owned, but a single use or a dedicated use or a kiosk device. There are multiple ways that Android Enterprise supports enrolling these kind of devices. You can use NFC tags. You could use tokens if you like. You can use QR codes, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. It's pretty cool. And otherwise, you could also use the Android's zero-touch service to provision this. All of these options are very simple to use. And let's start off with what the QR code experience looks like. So I have a brand new device, and I'm going to go get that set up so you can see it. All right. Let me extend the screen. Okay, and what this typically is accompanied with is a printout or a QR code that comes with the box, right? It looks like this, right? It's from your IT department. All it has really is a QR code for the device to go scan. To do that, I'm going to pull up the QR code on my console, which makes it easier to scan. All right. Going back to the device. So I unbox this device, brand new one. I tap a few times on the screen. It pulls up the QR code reader. I'll go ahead and scan that on my screen here. And you will notice the minute I did that, it pops up this prompt which says, hey, this device will be managed by your application, just accept and continue. So I'll go ahead, click accept. And by the way, that's all that I need to do to provision this device to be a kiosk. I'm going to set this aside while it enrolls and pulls the applications that I configured for this device. And I'll switch gears to now talk about the other form of enrollment that Paul mentioned, which was for a personal device scenario, right? So let's assume this device is my personal device, but I want to get access to corporate data. What I've done is I went ahead and enrolled this device using the Android work profile. And you notice there are a few applications here. Hopefully is not that hard to read. There are a couple of applications you notice with a little badge icon. That is to indicate that it's a managed app. In this case, I'll open the Managed Play Store, which shows you all the applications that were installed on this device in the work profile. So let me go ahead and pop up Outlook. And this is my first launch experience in Outlook. I hit Get Started. And what you notice is that it pre-populated the account that I used to enroll this device to my corporate. So I don't have to select anything. It's a single account that's already selected for me. I hit next, and you notice it doesn't ask me for my credentials once again because single sign-on is an action. It goes ahead, and that it is. I'm right at my mailbox. I'll go ahead and skip the setup screens, but you notice my mailbox is ready for me to use. All with a single click. I didn't have to do anything to enter my credentials. It's a powerful experience. Now, how do we make it easy for an end user to know that they can't go ahead and add their personal account to this? Let's go try it out. So I'll go to settings. I'll say, hey, I want to add another account. I want to add my personal account. And there you go. It makes it really simple to understand that this device is managed by my organization, and so I cannot add my personal email account to the Outlook profile here. I can do it on my unmanaged Outlook app and add it there, but it makes it very easy for an end user to recognize that this is the corporate partition or the work profile. Now going back, I'll switch gears and show you the task worker device or the kiosk device that I set up earlier. You notice it already pulled the Play Store and installed a bunch of applications that I had pushed to this kiosk device. So I hope that gives you a sense of what the end user experience looks like. And as you can see, it is quite simple, right? A matter of a few clicks. I want to show you what does it mean to configure this on the IT Pro side, right? What did I have to do? So to recap, Android Enterprise supports a few ways to enroll your devices. The first one is the personal devices with work profile, which I demonstrated. We talked about and I showed you what the corporate-owned but dedicated use case looks like. And for each of this, starting with the dedicated device, all I needed to create is an enrollment profile. And to show you what a profile looked like, literally it's a token. It's a QR code that I used to scan using my new phone. Now, similarly for the work profile, work profile scenario, all I really need to do is specify an enrollment restriction, which is enabling work profile. That's it. And of course, I deployed Outlook. You saw I had a bunch of apps deployed to my personal device, and I tried to add my personal account. Now, what did I do to enable that on the IT Pro side? I created Outlook, of course, I deployed Outlook, but you know how to do that. We've seen that a few times. In addition to that, what I did is I created an app configuration policy for the managed Outlook. And if you look at the configuration settings, there's a specific setting called allow only work or school accounts. I set that to required, and that's about it. So that is what gave me the experience on my end user side where it prevented me from adding a personal account to my Outlook profile. To sum it up, I hope this gives a taste of the power of Android Enterprise and the simplicity behind this for provisioning and using Android devices.
Great. So some of the new things coming for Android include the Edge browser support, the work profile that you saw, the integration both with managed Google Play and with Google Play Protect APIs. So these are the ways that you can prevent unwanted applications that may even have malware infections from getting onto your device. We've recently announced the Zebra partnership. So we have support for the native Zebra APIs for your ruggedized devices also in Intune now, and some support for always-on VPN connections. Wanted to spend just a quick second talking about Microsoft Edge on iOS and Android. For those of you who are using Intune today, you'll know that it comes with an app called the Managed Browser. The idea behind the Managed Browser is that your employees use the Managed Browser to access work SaaS applications, and then you can apply Intune policies to that browser to prevent anything from being downloaded or copied or shared inappropriately. We have now worked with the mobile Edge team at Microsoft to put all of the capabilities that were in the Managed Browser natively into Edge now. So moving forward, the Microsoft Edge Mobile will be the browser that will support all of these managed corporate scenarios. And that includes the conditional access integration, the app protection policy, the containment, SSO, all of that capability moving forward to get a consistent experience across iOS and Android. Want to touch, I'm going to rush a little bit just in the interest of time, but we'll talk a little bit about macOS. There are really two flavors of macOS that we support. One where Intune is the complete management solution for Mac. We integrate with the MDM stack. You can do things like deploy certificates, Wi-Fi profiles, Office Pro Plus configuration settings. Or if you're using Jamf today, we also integrate to have a Jamf managed device be able to integrate with Intune and participate in conditional access scenarios. So the Jamf integration is explained here, where Jamf is managing the device, is reporting the inventory and the state of the device to Intune. Intune then uses that to do a compliance evaluation. Is this Mac compliant with corporate policy? Integrates with the full Microsoft 365 stack, including Azure Active Directory. And if the Mac is not compliant that is managed by Jamf, you can block it from getting access to email and other corporate services. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback from customers, and the partnership we have with Jamf has been really great. So some of the new capabilities you see coming from macOS include just enhanced payloads for configuration, participation in DEP. We have some new Wi-Fi capabilities. You can also do the macOS update delay capability just like we had for iOS, and then deploying Office 365 and doing the remote access. You can remote lock a Mac device. You can remote wipe it as well. All right, so with that, we've shown you several experiences for the end user you're enabled through modern management. We've shown you our Windows capabilities, our integration with Security Center and Device Management Center in M365. We've shown you iOS, Mac, Android. It's just been a big tour of all the capabilities we have. Because of these, we've been recognized by analysts as a leader in the industry. We have 160 million devices under management today. That's growing. We have 94,000 paying customers, also growing. So we feel great about the progress that we've seen this business make, and it's just taking off like crazy. In terms of the actual products that you can purchase, we have SKUs of Microsoft 365 that cover knowledge workers, shift employees or first-line workers. We have a special version for SMB that includes the capabilities you've seen here today, but limited to 300 seats or less. And we have a specific educational offering as well. So across these verticals, we have products that will cover you and give you all the experience we've been demoing today. And I want to make a quick mention of Fast Track. I don't know how many folks here are familiar with this, but a Microsoft 365 subscription includes Fast Track, which is a dedicated set of people who work with our engineering team to help people plan and deploy these services. So if you have signed up for Microsoft 365, you may have already been contacted by one of our Fast Track engineers. Or if you're using a partner to deploy these services in your environment, we have Fast Track support for the partners to know what are the best practice recommendations, how to plan the employment, where are the configuration options. So this is a new thing we do to really enable customers to consume our technology much easier, especially as things are rapidly changing and coming out all the time. So make sure you take advantage of that. Finally, the call to action here is to learn more about our unified endpoint management. We'll have links in the session here. You can do a 90-day trial that includes everything that we demoed for you today. And you can work with your partners as well to get those proof of concepts set up. And you can also work with our Fast Track team to get it set up. So across the board, I think we have a comprehensive set of functionality. We have great support services for getting you up and running. And with that, we'll end the session. Thank you very much.